like to highlight two parts. One is the challenges that we as an organization face in inclusive education, and the second part will be the solution that we so far achieved reaching in development of inclusive education tools or program for provinces and for Pakistan. So the challenges part is that in the community we did not find any early detection of children with disability, person with disability system, specifically in the remote part of Pakistan. Besides this, we also met with the children with disability. So they are quite motivated, but they do not have any services at the district level, at the community level, where they can go and get the education. I'm very specifically talking about our experience. There may be organizations who work in a specific location. So overall, I'm talking about the broader perspective. So there is no such health system available in the community where they can detect children with disability at early level. Then we also visited the household. We met with the parents. Parents were drained off. They have utilized their maximum resources on their children, but they do not have a clear vision about the children with disability, where we should take them, what is the available services in the community or in the district. We also met with the district education teachers of the schools. They are not clear on the inclusive education. Yes, they are clear on increasing the enrollment of school, especially girls. That is recently being received, but they are not aware of children with disability. They are not even aware of their need. They are not aware of any education plan. We also visited the district authorities. We met with them. They are more concerned about security, NOCs, other priorities of the district, but they are not very much focused on children and persons with disability need and requirement. We also met with the provincial head of education. This is my personal experience that we received from the top level of administrator of the education, that they highlighted that this is not our priority. So there is a big gap still exists in the coordination of different departments at the province level. So now these are the challenges that we face. I'm just summarizing it. Now the other part, so what we as an organization evolve into the development of inclusive education program. So we as an organization suggesting that there should be an advocacy plan in the inclusive education program, which can mobilize the resources, which can make a policy shift, which can improve the coordination between health, education, social welfare departments. So that is an important component. We also suggesting an institute. That institute train teachers on inclusive education. That should be linked with the person with different type of disability, with visual impairment. Need is totally different. The deaf need is totally different. The physical need is different. The mental health need is different. Then we would like that what is the level where we should design the program. We are suggesting that district is the best location in Pakistan because district has resources, district has coordination bodies, district has different department representatives. So we are suggesting that the district, and I'm talking about the practical experiences that we made so far in this inclusive education. So then the third level is the capacity building, is coordination between different departments and DPOs. The custodian of the disability matter in the district. They can understand very well their challenges, they can understand very well their requirement, their need, and they can mobilize a lot of resources, doing a very tremendous job. So at the district level, we need those kind of team, those kind of people, those kind of resources. And I'm seeing this leadership is, yes, that should be trickled down to the district levels. How many districts people are here? So the fourth one is the capacity building part of the teachers. That is very important. Fifth is the infrastructure. Yes, there is a infrastructure, dedicated infrastructure is required at the district level. How many primary schools? How many secondary schools? How many colleges? We are advertising at our institute level that we will give the scholarship to children and persons with disability. We couldn't get anyone because I'm assuming at my level that there is nobody is able to reach to that level. The sixth component that we are seeing is awareness. The awareness of community, the awareness of parents, the awareness of children with disability. That is also very important. And if I can take you to the seventh level, which is service delivery. So service delivery has two parts. One is the health and second is the education. So health, the primary health custodian should be trained in early identification of person with disability because they were treated well. And then in the education, yes, the teachers, the parent teachers committee, the parents, they should be properly aware of the need of person with disability. So in these 6-7 components and technology, tools and technology, that is very important. Do we have technology that can we can able to provide the need of the person with disability, the figures that now you are saying the 5%. So do we have certain number of technology and assistive devices for them? So based on that we can be able to develop a very comprehensive program, inclusive education program that address the need of children at the district level. So my approach is that we should go to the community. Persons with disabilities are in community. So let's go to the community, let's take the programs to the community and develop the tools, test it, evaluate it, and then present it to the government of Pakistan that these are the tools that you should replicate. Now the chef, what is chef is doing, because that's the point. Chef, we as an organization, we are working in health, education and disability. So we have developed the tools where we integrated a disability into the public health system. So that model is we established and we are now advocating in KPK that this is the model you should replicate. Here in Islamabad, we have established the first Pakistan Institute of Rehabilitation Sciences, where we are offering degree courses for physical rehab, orthotics prosthesis, diploma courses, bachelor courses in audiology, bachelor courses in vision sciences. Recently, we are planning to start the mobility course and inclusive education. So this is the contribute because we are aware of that there is a gap in human resource. Pakistan do not have trained human resource. Yes, we are doing a workshop 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. This is not enough. This is my personal experience. This is not enough to address the need of children with disability. We need a comprehensive programs to address the need of person with disability. And I'm very glad that initially we have already some initial discussion with the DG Sahab. I'm very thankful to their team that they are open to develop such kind of training program with Chef International. It's a very initial level, but we are very hopeful that we will conclude on that where we as an organization in DGSC were able to develop a course which we can then train teachers practically on inclusive education. And then we will take them off to the districts, to the education department. We will also achieve another milestone where we have signed an MOU with the KPK government and also develop the training manual for the teachers, and that is approved by the KPK teacher training department for their education. But that is just one milestone. There is a long way to go. And I'm very hopeful. Challenges, as Munazza highlighted, there is a lot of challenges, but I'm seeing very motivated and very bright face in front of me. Hopefully, one day we will be able to present, to achieve, to develop a Pakistan inclusive education program. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Very informative discussion from the noted scholars, and particularly as Madam Munata Girani indicated that the government of Pakistan, and especially in Islamabad, the education department, Prime Minister the Education Reform Program, the Special Education Program, the Directorate General of Special Education, and the Sightsavers International are striving hard to overcome the problem of the person with disabilities. You will surely be astonished to know that at present more than 1 million children are out of schools, and to bring them in the ambit of education. Inclusive education is the future of persons with disability. And I have personal experience. My daughter is also special daughter. She has recently passed SSC. She is CP child. People were not aware about the problems of the children with disability. She is in process of getting admission, but facing lot of problems as people at high level in the private schools and universities don't know how to handle them. I think the sensitization on the part of the public is imminent, and we are the custodians. All of us who are here are the advocates. We are the advocates to educate the people, to sensitize the people for motivation that these children are also the part of our society. At present, the government of that we must go at grassroots level, district, union council level, and I think all the provincial governments, district governments are the supporters. The reason they want to accommodate the people, but we never try to contact them. I have experience in Lahore with the DCO and the radio education, sensitized more than 1,300 schools had without spending any money on these ceremonies. I think this can be done by utilizing local resources, by utilizing the capacity building, and as Mr. Suhail Khan said, we are going to establish a new institution for capacity building of the teachers. Madam Munata Girani is also our partner, and she is trying to accommodate more and more children with disability. I would like to request the country director, Handicapped International, to come forward to strengthen our hands, and we may start some new projects of inclusive education at Islamabad level. We will welcome, and I think all of us must try and to convey our message wherever we are, wherever we can. We are one family, and all DPOs are our hands. I really appreciate the efforts of Mr. Atif Sheikh, my friend from Lahore, and all other friends. Thank you very much.
Before concluding, I would like to shift this mic to Mr. Atif for some important announcements.
In fact, this is not an announcement. As I mentioned, it education, which is part of this panel, discussed with the distinguished panelists on inclusive education challenges. STEP has been working in KPK province for inclusive education, right from the grassroots practices and taking a policy change at the government level for the last 2 years. So I would like to very briefly contribute what we have done and what we have learned there. We selected some families who were having children with disabilities. We selected 22 schools in their communities and some education officers from the government, and started discussion, debates with them how to make it possible. And almost after the end of 4 months, everybody was saying that it's a very good thing, but it's impossible. So we find out what are the interventions, possible interventions we can do. We train the teachers to accept children with disabilities. We train the parents to send them to the school, to be prepared to send them to school. Then we work with children in those schools to accept their peers with disabilities in the same classroom. Then there was a challenge to make accessibility. So it was the most difficult part because the most costs involved in the accessibility things, but we provided some assistive devices and some reasonable accommodations in those particular schools so that children with disabilities, at least in some of the classrooms, can be accommodated. Then the last part was coordination between the teachers and parents and the government and education department and community leaders. Finally, we were successful in an effort of 2 years. My team is sitting there. They were supposed to continue there, but time is limited. So successfully, last month we enrolled 220 girls with disabilities at the primary education level. Now the next phase, the next big challenge, whether they will sustain, whether they will continue to go in school or not, that's a big challenge for us. And I will ask a question it's a question we will be learning for us if we can contribute with how we can make it possible that these girls will continue education in those schools where we have been working for the last 2 years from all aspects of inclusive education. So, luckily we have experts on legislation from Mobility International USA. May I request Ms. Cartwright to comment on the discussion and what we have, what our panelists can share and contribute, if you can briefly. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank the panel. That was an excellent presentation, and I'm actually impressed with the coordinated effort that's happening here in Pakistan. I can tell you in the United States, we've been trying to make this work, inclusive education, for 30 years, and I can't say we're having any success at this time. We have some. But I guess I would just being made aware of Chef and your 6-point plan, I think it was 6, I might have missed 1 point. I think that's an excellent scope and plan to try and approach the issues. The one thing I would suggest that you all consider is using people with disabilities. I'd like to see you integrate into that program, possibly recruiting disabled people to go into the teaching force in this country. Number 2, when you talk about having parents trying to conceptualize their child going to school, we found in the United States that one of the useful things is to use disabled adults who actually have succeeded, either gone to college, have a job, as positive role models for parents, because most often parents, when they have a disabled child, cannot conceptualize that child's future. And so having them learn and see a functioning person with a disability in society helps them move to the next step of having their children be integrated into an education system. So those are the only 2 issues I would raise as for your consideration to integrate into your plan. I think actually there's one sub-point. The sub-point is on curriculum, which is, I will tell you, we are not successful about this in the United States, and I hope you can be in Pakistan, which is to ensure that the curriculum that quote-unquote regular teachers are learning in their education process includes courses on how to educate kids with disabilities. And the second part of that curriculum initiative is to think about when your teachers are in the classroom to include people with disabilities in part of their teaching. Meaning, I'll give you an example. I was in Armenia not too long ago looking in an inclusive classroom, and the teacher was giving a lecture on Armenian Olympic champions. Never once talked about a Paralympic champion, which Armenia has a number of them. And so the issue is for when you're thinking of the curriculum inside the classroom also, to make that person with disabilities, whether they're blind, deaf, physically disabled, also be examples that they're using for teaching for integration. And those are the only helpful things I can offer, but it sounds like you all are doing a wonderful job. And I thank you.
Thank you. Before we move to the other part of this session, that is question answer session, I have one or two remarks to way forward. First of all, we are talking about policy. We have a lot of very strong instruments that Pakistan government already identified, or we are just focusing these documents. First of them is SDGs, that is Article 4 about education. Then second, that is UNCRPD, United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Article 24. And then Constitution of Pakistan, Article 25A, that is directly relevant to the education and empowerment through education. So one very important issue which I would like to mention here, that is the education is directly proportional to empowerment. So if we want empowerment, we need education to be escalated. So in Pakistan, the biggest problem is that our population is quite scattered. 67% of the population that is residing in a rural setting, they are not able to attend. I'm talking about persons with disabilities or children with disabilities. They are not able to attend the local schools. So there is need to address these children or these persons with disabilities. That is about 67% of the population. Then on the other hand, that is about 33% population that is residing in urban setting. Again, almost 20% of that population that is residing under underprivileged areas, that is slums and something like that. So again, we have to address these 20% population. Then another very important issue that in the situation analysis, about $32 million, we are $32 to $42 million we are losing daily because of the exclusion of the person with disability. That is the research that was done by the economist, and it's given very openly in the article titled Away from the March. Then our learned colleagues, they discussed a lot about inclusive education, but still there is need to develop synergies and coordination among different stakeholders. So according to me, when I focus all this, I have 4A formula. The first A is for assessment. So we are missing this very important component of assessment. My colleague, Mr. Swail, he discussed about early intervention, but early intervention is only one part of that area. So we need psychological, educational, and a big chain of different aspects about assessment. Then second A is for accessibility. in accessibility, we have three different dimensions. One for infrastructure, the second is for transportation, the third is for ICT, information communication technology. So we need three different dimensions in this particular area. Then the third A, that is about awareness. Awareness is one of the very important and missing component of this inclusive education. Then the last is application. How we will apply. As our senior colleague, she discussed about curriculum, that is also in this, then teacher training, and then a lot of things. I mean, how we will apply this in our system. So that is very important. We have to join together, we have to discuss all these things, and accordingly we should devise some policy or plans to pay for it. Then the last thing, which I go through, that being we are late in this subject, so many countries around the globe, they work a lot on this particular subject. So there are two methods that are being used in the world. The one is training of the relevant staff or relevant professionals. The second is to hire or to post one specialist of education in the schools. So in my opinion, if you go through, if you finalize the recommendations, in my opinion, the second option is better. So if we have one specialist in one school, that will be more effective and more, even more cost effective. So thank you very much. I am really pleased and having a lot of good words for Mr. Atif, who invite us and will be able to discuss these things on this forum. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Mr. Atif for question and answer session.
क्वेश्चन आंसर के लिए अब मैं एक बात कहना चाहूँगा कि इंग्लिश उर्दू ट्रांसलेशन जो भी है वो ऑनर्स के लिए, और अगर किसी को उर्दू में बात करनी है तो इंग्लिश ट्रांसलेशन मौजूद है, इसलिए आप कर लो उर्दू और इंग्लिश में बात कर सकते हैं, सवाल कर सकते हैं। आज वो बात मैं रिपीट करूँगा जो हमने ट्रेनिंग के दौरान की थी कि ट्रेनिंग का मकसद था कॉन्फ्रेंस में आप लोग सवाल करें और कमेंट दें जो आपने सीखा है, और अपनी प्रैक्टिकल इंफॉर्मेशन से अपने नॉलेज को लेकर ताकि हमने ऐसी कंक्रीट रिकमेंडेशन निकाल सके तो हम लेजिस्लेशन का हिस्सा बन सके। सारा फिर मैं
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मेरा नाम सायरा अयूब है और मैं प्रोविंशियल कोऑर्डिनेटर हूँ नेशनल फोरम विद डिसेबिलिटीज की, और असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर हूँ लाहौर में वुमेन कॉलेज में पढ़ाती हूँ। सर मेरी 3 रिकमेंडेशन है और यहाँ से मुझे जो एक बात समझ में और मेरी कुछ अपनी भी सवाल से रिसर्च है कि लैक ऑफ अवेयरनेस अबाउट डिसेबिलिटीज बहुत ज़्यादा एग्जिस्ट है। तो लैक ऑफ अवेयरनेस के लिए सर एक रिकमेंडेशन है कि जो हमारे जनरल एजुकेशन है उसमें क्लास 1 से लेके क्लास 10 तक तमाम स्टूडेंट्स जो के हैं वो इंग्लिश और उर्दू जो के है वो कंपल्सरी सब्जेक्ट्स के तौर पे पढ़ती है। तो कुछ ऐसे से जैसे हमारे पंजाब में डेंगू का बहुत ज़्यादा एक वबा फैली, तो पंजाब गवर्नमेंट ने डेंगू अवेयरनेस के हवाले से और फिर वोमेन वायलेंस के हवाले से कुछ चैप्टर्स जो के हैं वो सिलेबस में ऐड किए। इसी तरीके से डिसेबिलिटीज इश्यूज जो के हैं इसमें भी क्लास 1 से लेके क्लास 10 तक इंग्लिश और उर्दू की बुक में एक स्टोरी जो कि है वो बहुत आसानी के साथ शामिल की जा सकती है, और ये स्टोरी